Andres from AA Sports back with another video on Mexican football and the Mexico women's national team. La Selección Femenil de Mexico played their second game of a two-game series against Uruguay and Tlaxcala. And while the first game ended in a 2-2 draw that felt disappointing for Mexico, this second game ended with Mexico getting a 1-0 win. Mexico won the second game and the series 3-2 on aggregate. This second game was definitely harder for Mexico. It was a win, but in a very ugly style. This game was played amid very poor conditions following heavy rain in central Mexico. This made it extremely difficult to dribble and pass the ball, maintain possession, and even hard to run for the ball as players were slipping, sliding, and falling throughout the game, and it only got worse as the game progressed. Had they known the weather and rain would have been so bad, they probably would have moved the game to another stadium in Mexico where there, of course, there would not have been any rain. Mexico got off to a very slow and shaky start amid the poor field conditions and were on the defense for most of the first half. Fortunately for them, Estefany Barreras had a really good game as the starting goalkeeper, keeping Uruguay and the game scoreless in the first half. Then in the second half, it was as if the light switch completely flipped, as the momentum completely shifted in favor of Mexico, as Uruguay began to really struggle defensively, which eventually led to the game's only goal by Diana Ordóñez, making it 1-0, which unfortunately we missed and only saw replays of as the broadcast crashed midway through the second half. That was not great for fans. While Mexico came close but were not able to score a second time, nevertheless, with Barreras having a great performance in between the goalposts, and Mexico playing better in the second half, Mexico kept Uruguay scoreless to win the game 1-0. A low-scoring game for sure, an ugly win, but a win the team will gladly take amid the wet and rainy conditions. Final score 1-0, 1-0 and Tlaxcala, and with it, Mexico wins the two-game series 3-2 if you consider it as an aggregate. Here are Mexico's grades for this game. Starting with the goalkeeper for Mexico, Estefany Barreras, it was without a doubt an A-plus performance from her in this game. She was the best player on the field in the first half and made 4 or 5 very good saves to keep Uruguay scoreless. She's definitely Mexico's best goalkeeper right now. Center backs, B+. Alia Farmer got another starting opportunity, this time alongside Natalia Collin. Farmer did struggle at times, but it was for the same reason everyone else had a bit of a difficult time in the game, the very wet and poor field conditions. But overall, she had a much better performance in comparison to her debut, was good in the second half, and did not commit any costly mistakes or fouls. Natalia Collin only played the first half and did a decent job contributing to the 25 clearances the defense made, which helped keep Uruguay scoreless. She was then replaced by Caro Bernal, who played the second half as a substitute. Bernal also had a good game for wet weather standards, and again, 25 clearances for Mexico, so a good defensive performance in the second half. Fullbacks, B+. Kenty Robles and Anika Rodriguez were the starting fullbacks, and Carla Nieto came in as a substitute for Robles just a couple of minutes into the second half. They did not have a great first half, but the fullbacks did have a very good second half as the momentum in the game started to greatly favor Mexico. Moving on to the midfielders, B+. Rebecca Bernal, Natalia Mauleon, and Ela Sanchez in her first game for Mexico. They were the starting midfielders in this second game. Ela Sanchez, I think, had a decent debut, all things considered. She was given a very tough task of having to start in awful weather and on terrible field conditions. And despite those challenges, I think Sanchez held her own very well. Sanchez, along with Mauleon and Bernal, once they got settled into the game, began to play much better, especially in the second half, taking away the ball from the Uruguayans and doing well keeping the ball and passing. This is why Mexico ended up with 56% of ball possession in this game. Ania Mejia didn't start this game, but did come into the game in the second half to replace Ella Sanchez as a defensive midfielder / third center back. She again went through the motions just to help the team close out the game. Not ideal because of the muddy field conditions, but did okay and did her part without any trouble this time. However, this still, in my opinion, doesn't change the fact that based on her form so far, she is not a long-term solution or player for the Mexico women's national team. Offensive front, B+. Maria Sanchez and Yasmin Cáceres were the starting wingers again, with Corral as the starting 9. Cáceres definitely struggled in the muddy and rainy conditions and looked non-existent in comparison to her last performance in the first game. But as I've already said, this was an ugly game all around because of the field conditions, which negatively affected how everyone played, so I really can't blame her. Maria Sanchez had a good game, all things considered, as she was credited with the assist on the goal. Corral was active as the starting striker, but she couldn't score. Goals were hard to get in this game. But Diana Ordóñez, with good positioning and a bit of luck, was able to recover the deflection on Sanchez's assist and score the winning goal. That was, I believe, her 11th goal for the national team and the goal that won the game for Mexico. Head coach, A. This was a much better game for Pedro Lopez as the coach, especially with his good decision with Mejia not starting this time. And I also really like how he gave all 3 new players playing time this international window, and they all made their debuts for Mexico. That was really, really good to see. The defense started off a bit shaky in the first half, but he made the right changes in the second half, and then the defense showed the strong form that we remember seeing from their last few games and last few international windows. While this is not his biggest and most convincing win, it is still a good result for him as the coach. Final score, 1-0. The Mexico women's team wins their second game against Uruguay and wins the 2-game friendly series 3-2. With that, for an overall grade for this game, B+ grade, and for the 2 games overall, I give Mexico a B grade. With their 2-2 draw and 1-0 win, La Selección Femenil has now played 5 games straight without losing, their last loss being that 2-0 loss in the Pinatar Cup against Canada. So very good form from this Mexico women's team. Andres from AA Sports, leave a like and subscribe and put your opinions on the game in the comments. That will be all for this video, but stay tuned in for more Mexico national team content coming up, especially with the Gold Cup coming in a couple of weeks' time. And the final roster for that tournament set to be announced soon. Until then, thanks for watching, and as always, Vamos Mexico.